Greetings to everybody. This July this year was not only special about US Independence Day, but also July 2nd was the 60th anniversary of Walmart, the biggest and one of the richest global companies in the world. And today we will be honored to speak in our Lviv studio with Walmart's Senior Vice President for Global Public Policy and Government Affairs, Dan Bryant. Hello, Dan, and Slava Ukraini. Welcome.
Hello, Taras. Thank you. What a pleasure to be with you, and glory to the Ukrainian heroes.
Thank you. Is this your first time in Lviv in Ukraine?
It is.
What is your first impression of this city and of Ukraine as a country?
Lviv is extraordinary. We've stayed in a little hotel right on the main square. It's beautiful, it's historic. We've eaten a lot of good food, which has been a delight. We're being hosted by some American friends who have been committed to Ukraine for a long time, more than 2 decades that they've been here. Mm-hmm. So they bring a lot of insight into the history and culture of Ukraine. They have a rich community of friends here in Ukraine, and that has helped us feel quickly involved and able to begin to get a better sense of what's going on. I'm privileged to be here with my daughter, who's 16, and a good friend of ours who's 20. 2 young American ladies who wanted to come and see Ukraine now and see the effort that Ukraine is undertaking. I would note we were privileged to come by way of Warsaw. We flew into Warsaw, mm-hmm. and to see the Polish-Ukrainian collaboration and to see the concern exhibited by Ukraine's neighbor was very heartening. I wasn't surprised. All the way across the world in America, the level of concern, the level of support for Ukraine, the level of support for a joined up European Ukrainian effort in the face of the horrible aggression is real. It's hard to overstate the level of concern and support from the United States for Ukraine right now. So we came with that clear sense of resolve that so much of the world has for Ukraine, and to see that then expressed in Poland with efforts they have underway, mm-hmm. and then to be here and to see the support for Ukraine's resistance, to see the extraordinary care that's being taken with respect to displaced persons and the various civil society responses, individuals with small organizations that have transformed their organizations so that they can now be helping to rescue and provide relief. It's been enormously encouraging.
So what is your personal mission here? Is it just to see what's happening here or with your eyes, or to help somehow?
So I come definitely wearing my American citizen hat, first and foremost. And we've been reading everything, watching everything from thousands of miles away. So to have the privilege of actually coming here and being in Ukraine during this time, and to really get a better feel, to see what's going on, to really learn more at different levels about the effort and the national response, so that, among other things, we might be able to think about, when we return, how could we be helpful? What would, in our own small way, partnering with our friends and their efforts, their pre-existing efforts, and exploring other ways of assisting the country, what might that look like? So we wanted to come, see, touch, learn, and take those learnings back to explore how we could, in our own way, be more useful supporting and partnering.
You mean during rebuilding Ukraine after the victory, or during wartime?
Both. It would be a privilege in our own way to be of immediate assistance when we return, and it would be obviously a wonderful privilege to be part of Ukraine's rebuilding. and we anticipate that day.
Do you think Ukraine is interesting to the world in this focus here in helping to rebuild, and why, if we are?
I think Ukraine is the most interesting country to the world right now. The extraordinary aggression being directed against Ukraine is not being mistaken around the world. I think it's being seen for what it is. I think the stories of what have happened in Mariupol, in the Donbas, those stories are getting out. I think people have noted the fierce resistance by the Ukrainian military effort and have been inspired by it. I think the concern about Ukraine as a great European country and in a community of other countries that themselves have legitimate concerns about future aggression. No, I think the eyes of the world are on Ukraine and the willingness to support Ukraine. I hope it's been evident in Ukraine by Ukrainians, and I hope it will continue to be evident. We can't just show up today and be asleep at the switch tomorrow.
Do you or does your company plan to invest in Ukraine?
We buy and sell a lot of wonderful products that are sourced from agricultural products in Ukraine. We hire a lot of great Americans from a variety of different ethnic backgrounds. Undoubtedly, we are fortunate to have, as part of our associate base, a lot of Ukrainian Americans. We have an extraordinary foundation that does a variety of very significant efforts related to relief, and when various communities affected around the world come to the United States and look to benefit from relief and integration and upskilling, my company, through its foundation, tends to be a leader in the way we respond.
Do you see here chances for, I don't know, retail business expansion too, or importing more Ukrainian products? And where do you see, what do you value the most in Ukrainian products?
So my company is not involved in Eastern Europe. Just from a business focus standpoint, our direction has been other for decades, and I don't see that changing in the near term. Having said that, the retail opportunities in Ukraine, based on the creativity of Ukrainians, are undoubtedly significant. We had a chance just yesterday to see some exquisite artwork, very fine artwork done by displaced persons from the East, now here in Lviv, who have created beautiful objects of art. We've begun the conversation already. What might it look like to, in some way, encourage that effort by expanding a market elsewhere, perhaps using the platform of the internet to really open up that market to others who would both respond to the beauty and the quality of these products and also very much want to be part of helping to create income for communities here in Ukraine, particularly displaced persons communities.
There are now different discussions around the world about Ukraine's economic development during the wartime. And just recently, maybe 2 weeks ago, we had in our studio here the Pavlo Sheremetov, for our former Minister of Trade and Economic Development of Ukraine. And he said that we have to count on ourselves, that possible Marshall's plan for Ukraine is okay, is good, but it will not save our economy. It's not what we have to think about, but we have to count of ourselves today. And what do you think from your perspective? What, as a business, as a person from business, what may save our economy today, Ukraine's economy today, and what approaches are more effective in terms of, for example, taxes regulation? Is it a bit more liberal or vice versa?
Yeah. Very important questions. I have not been a student of economic development in Ukraine. This trip has been instructive and begun to give me a sense of the Ukrainian economy, the Ukrainian people, the effect of the war on Ukrainian commerce and communities. So it will be very helpful as I head back. I think, to your minister's point, self-sufficiency is always better, but we all need friends. Every country needs friends. Every country in distress especially needs friends. Ukraine isn't going to have to get there alone. Ukraine isn't going to be asked to get there alone. Ukraine's going to have partners in the West and around the world as it is looking to rebuild. That's smart business for other commercial enterprises outside of Ukraine to invest in Ukraine and be part of that rebuilding and to build those early partnerships and then strengthen them over time. So yes to self-sufficiency and yes to international support that's focused thoughtfully on capacity building so that Ukraine's economy can recover as quickly as possible and grow.
Thank you. And does Walmart work in Russia today?
We do not.
So, and what would you advise those companies those global companies that are still working there?
I've been heartened to see the commercial reaction from the West and to see the significant migration of commercial activity outside of Russia, from Russia, leaving Russia. I think it's been noteworthy to see them deciding that that's the right move for them. I understand that there are some food purveyors who have for many decades been in the business of providing food and have a commitment to do that independent even of conflict. So I understand that there may be some food-related businesses that are sorting through what would withdrawing look like with food impacts on civilian populations. Those are complicated questions. But I would say in the main, to see the clear, strong, overwhelming commercial response by those that have been in Russia to exit the country seems to me noteworthy and encouraging.
Great. What do you think the world still doesn't understand about Ukraine?
I think the world needs more of the Ukrainian spirit. You look at what Ukraine has done. You look at that spirit of glory to Ukraine and glory to the heroes, the spirit of Second Maidan, which continues mightily. This is a people that has a real sense of itself and is not going to be denied its standing and its right to self-government. It's making that very clear. I think the West needs the spirit of Ukraine. The West needs to not take its freedoms and rule of law for granted or lightly, and we're being reminded at great cost of how valuable those rights, those privileges are, and Ukraine is making it clear that they're worth standing up for at enormous cost. So we need Ukraine. We need the spirit of Ukraine.
Thank you so much. It really corresponds. What your answer corresponds to what we heard from one of leading Ukraine's thinkers and also a businessman, Valery Pekar, who said values over interests. What the lessons is the world learning from Ukraine today? So you just really confirmed that. And finally, probably the last question, what are the 3 words you would describe Ukraine after you came here and just felt it for a day or 2 or 3? And what is your impression? And how would you describe your trust in our victory?
It's a mistake to bet against Ukraine. Don't bet against Ukraine. Courage would be a word that I would have believed in before coming here, characterizing Ukraine. I believe in it even more, having been here 4 or 5 days. Compassion, to see the response of Ukrainians for Ukrainians, to see them opening their homes, opening their cities, opening their hearts. It's been remarkable. Compassion. The third might be community. Ukraine is a people. Ukraine is a community. Ukraine is insisting on moving forward as Ukraine, as a people. And it's making the sacrifices necessary to make that real. You can feel that. You see it everywhere in the signage. You hear it. You hear it in conversations. Ukrainians insisting on Ukraine's future. So that sense of the Ukrainian community, I think, has come out very clearly. Courage, compassion, community.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan. And we had a wonderful conversation, and we'll continue later on, and wishing you great time in Ukraine.
Thank you. We're going to continue to move around the country and learn, meet people, and continue to eat this wonderful fortifying food and look for opportunities to be useful after we return to the United States. But thank you very much, Taras. A real pleasure.
Great. Thank you a lot, Dan.